If you've been on social media lately, then you've probably heard about skin cycling. So what is it? And do you need to be doing skin cycling? We're gonna talk all about it. I'm Dr. Sam Ellis, and I'm a board-certified medical and cosmetic dermatologist in Northern California. I'm here to help you understand your skin and find products that work for you. If that sounds good, give this video a thumbs up and don't forget to subscribe to the channel. So what is skin cycling? It's essentially a method or a guide for how to apply your skincare, where instead of applying the same skincare products every single night, you instead apply different skincare products on different nights and you cycle through that in a very specific order. I think a lot of people have been performing some variation of skin cycling on their own for a long time, but the actual term skin cycling was coined by a fellow dermatologist, Dr. Whitney Bowe. And her sort of blueprint for skin cycling involves using an exfoliant on night 1, a retinoid product on night 2, and then using nights 3 and 4 for moisturization and recovery, where you're not using an active in your skincare. And then after you've completed those 4 subsequent nights, you start over with your exfoliation step. So exfoliate, retinoid, recover, recover, exfoliate, retinoid, recover, repeat, repeat, repeat. And there are definitely some major benefits to skin cycling. I think the main one being that it can help people avoid over-irritating their skin. I think for a while, it was people's tendency to sort of overuse exfoliants. There was this big marketing push for exfoliation and everyone was talking about it, and people were never really given the proper instructions of how to exfoliate, when to exfoliate, what types of ingredients you should be looking for in your particular exfoliation products for whatever you're trying to achieve with your skin. And so a lot of people went in and started exfoliating their skin every single day, and skin isn't really able to handle that very well. And so when you introduce a method like skin cycling, which has you exfoliating every 4th night, it gives people a guide on how to properly introduce an exfoliant into their routine, and people are less likely to go and over-irritate or overstrip their skin. Whenever you have a particular product in your routine, I really encourage people to think about, like, why do I have this in my routine? What purpose does it serve? And when it comes to exfoliants, the main point of them is to help remove some of the outer dead skin cell layer on the surface of our skin. Some exfoliants also help target the dead skin cell and sebum plug that sits inside our pores. And when you introduce an exfoliant, the whole goal is to make the skin look more radiant and to clear the complexion. Now keep in mind, our skin cells naturally exfoliate on their own. They're on a cycle of about every 28 to 30 days, but as we get older, our skin can start cycling on a slower pace, maybe like every 45 to 60 days. Those outer dead skin cells slough off and new ones rise to the top. So what that means is young, healthy skin often doesn't require an exfoliation step at all. That skin is naturally on a good pace of renewing itself, and it doesn't tend to get as dull or congested. I cannot tell you how many people I've seen in my clinic for rosacea or skin irritation or just dermatitis, which just means inflammation of the skin. And it's because they introduced an exfoliant, but they didn't really know why they were bringing it into their routine. There was nothing specific they were targeting. And so I really encourage people to only use an exfoliant if you have a specific reason you're bringing it into your routine. And then I do like the idea of using the concept of skin cycling to guide your frequency of exfoliation use, whether that's every 4th night or 5th night or 6th night, or in my case, every 7th night. I probably only exfoliate once a week. There's also some nuance here that I feel like kind of gets neglected in the Instagram or TikTok world where all the videos are 30 or 60 seconds, but exfoliants have different properties, they have different potencies, and so there might be an exfoliation product that has 1 or 2% of an active acid, and most people would be able to tolerate that every single night. And there are exfoliation products that have 15 or 20% of an acid, and yeah, those probably shouldn't be used as frequently. So that's the other thing to keep in mind, is you have to tailor your routine to the specific products that you're using. Okay, I think I've said my piece about exfoliation. Let's move on to the 2nd night of skin cycling, the use of a retinoid. For some very brief review, retinoids are a category of molecule that are all derived from vitamin A, and they include things like tretinoin, which is a prescription strength retinoid, adapalene, retinol, which you can find over the counter, retinaldehyde, which you can also find over the counter. Actually, adapalene you can find over the counter too. But the whole point is that there are many different types of retinoids. Prescription strength retinoids are used in the treatment of acne, but they can also help with anti-aging. So retinoids categorically help with things like correcting fine lines, they can reduce hyperpigmentation, they can make the skin appear less dull and more vibrant, vibrant. So there's lots of reasons why you would want to have a retinoid in your routine. But here's the catch. When you first start using retinoids, they can cause a lot of irritation to your skin. They can cause dryness and flaking and peeling and redness. And so when dermatologists or estheticians are teaching people how to bring a retinoid into their routine, they will sort of often start with the concept of skin cycling. I have an entire YouTube video dedicated to how to start a retinoid. And the core tenet of that video is using your retinoid every fourth or fifth night to start and slowly working your way up to nightly use if you can tolerate it. And here's where I sort of have my gripe with skin cycling, because I think it's great when you are starting out with a retinoid to use it every fourth night or every fifth night. But when we look at the clinical data that shows us that retinoids are effective for things like anti-aging or for acne, those studies typically are looking at nightly or everyday use of that product. And so if you are only using your retinoid every fourth night, you can't always guarantee that you're going to get that same therapeutic benefit as the people in the clinical trials did who were using it every single day. Remember, prescription strength retinoids are a drug or a medication, and you wouldn't expect to take your heart medication every fourth night and have it help your blood pressure the same way it would if you were using it consistently the way it was tested in the clinical trials. And really, I think the same is true for retinoids. It's not to say that you won't get some therapeutic benefit by using your retinoid less frequently than every single day. And certainly, if your retinoid is causing you lots of irritation, it's not worth it to use it every single night if that's going to be the outcome. But if you can tolerate a retinoid every single night, there's really no reason not to do it. I mention this because aside from being a medical dermatologist, I'm also a cosmetic dermatologist. And in addition to any procedures we do for people in the office, I also help them have a skincare routine that's going to complement anything they are doing. And I cannot tell you how many people let me know that they've been using their retinoid every fourth night for the last 10 years and they feel like it's not doing that much. And all we do is make this small shift of increasing their frequency of topical retinoid use, and they are blown away by the improvements that their skin makes. I also have lots of acne patients who I treat who recently started doing skin cycling because they saw it on an app and they feel like, oh, I have a topical retinoid, I should start using it every fourth night instead of every single night, and like all their acne comes back. So if you are instructed to use a retinoid by your dermatologist for a specific purpose, I really recommend doing it as instructed. So I really think the people who are going to get the most benefit out of a skin cycling routine of exfoliating, using a retinoid, and then using 2 nights for their skin to recover are people who have very sensitive skin, who would not be able to tolerate a retinoid every single night, and for people who just need a routine. I feel like sometimes people are just sort of sporadically choosing what they're going to use that night in their skincare, and they don't have any intention or understanding of why. And a skin cycling routine just gives you a very firm guide. And I feel like that's why a lot of people see improvements in their skin when they start doing skin cycling, because they're sticking to a consistent routine. I think this is probably particularly true for people who are in their 20s and 30s who are like, oh gosh, I'm starting to see the first signs of aging. I'm going to go all in on my exfoliation and my retinoid, but their skin is actually still really healthy. They have relatively young skin. And so they didn't really need to be doing their exfoliation as frequently as they were, or their skin is not ready to tolerate a retinoid as frequently as every single night. And so they can really benefit from skin cycling because it sort of spaces out those actives and allows their skin to recover the way it really needs to. But not everyone needs that recovery period in their skincare routine, and you don't need to take that recovery if you don't really need it. All in all, I like skin cycling, and I think skin cycling has been so successful as a concept because it gives a very approachable, healthy way to introduce these powerful skincare actives into a routine. But in my mind, it's sort of a jumping off point, and then you can advance your routine from there. Ultimately, your skincare routine is going to be very personal to you and what your skin needs. So my version of quote unquote skin cycling involves using a retinoid pretty much every single night, except 1 night a week, I will do some type of exfoliation. And if my skin is feeling particularly sensitive or irritated, I will take a couple of nights off in order to let my skin barrier recover and reset. But I only do that if my skin is showing signs of being irritated or problematic. Otherwise, I just continue with my routine. I'm sure we all sort of have our variation on skin cycling that we do and it works for us. So put yours in the comments below. I'm so curious what other people's routines look like. I also wanted to share some products that sort of fit within the skin cycling model in case you are thinking about trying skin cycling or you're just looking for new exfoliants or a different type of retinoid to add or swap out in your routine. One of my favorite exfoliation products are the Dr. Dennis Gross Alpha Beta Exfoliation Peel Pads. I like these because they are individually packaged. So especially if you're doing skin cycling and you're only introducing an exfoliant, every fourth night or like me once a week, it's kind of nice that it's in its own individual package. So you don't have to open up everything and worry that it's it's going to spoil before you go through the entire product. These come with 2 different peel pads. There's this first step that has more of the exfoliating acids like glycolic acid and lactic acid and salicylic acid. That's the beta hydroxy acid that helps get into your pores. And then there's this sort of second step that sort of calms everything down and has amazing antioxidants like ubiquinone and resveratrol, and also has a little bit of retinol in them. Now, it's such a small amount of retinol, I don't really count this as my retinoid step. It's definitely more of an exfoliation step. I love packing these with me when I travel, and I tend to use them on my final day of a trip or of vacation because I feel like the next day they give me that sort of immediate brightening effect. After I travel, maybe I haven't slept as well, certainly have not been eating as great as I could be, maybe I haven't been on my routine as much, and these sort of help me reset my skin, and I notice a very visible difference when I incorporate these pads into my routine. I love them. Another exfoliating product that I absolutely love is the Glytone Enhanced Brightening Complex. This has glycolic acid, but also has azelaic acid. And in the beginning of the video, I sort of talked about picking the exfoliant based on what you're trying to target in your skincare routine. And I think if you struggle with hyperpigmentation, having something that has both glycolic acid and azelaic acid in it is awesome. This was the exfoliant I used the most during my pregnancy. I was really trying to combat hyperpigmentation or melasma. Now, I wasn't going to reverse my melasma during pregnancy since pregnancy was driving that process, but I wanted to optimize it as much as possible, and this is the product that I did that with. The other thing I found is this particular exfoliating product was gentle enough that I could tolerate it every other night. And so I had my own version of skin cycling where I was doing an exfoliation step one night and a recovery step the next. And that's what skin cycling is all about. It's about finding a routine or a cycle for your products that works for you. And it's allowed to change as your skin changes. Now let's talk about the retinoid step. Now, as a dermatologist, I am going to stan prescription strength tretinoin pretty hard because there is the most data for tretinoin when it comes to both acne improvement as well as anti-aging effects. But not everyone has access to prescription strength tretinoin. And the reality is a lot of people can't tolerate prescription strength tretinoin. So what are the alternatives? There's adapalene, which used to be a prescription retinoid in the US and is now available over the counter. In other countries, we still need a prescription for it, but that's a great alternative to tretinoin that tends to be less irritating and easily accessible. Something that's even less irritating, but also less potent than adapalene is a retinol product, and I love the Stratia Night Shift. I actually have an entire video on my favorite kind of introductory retinol products, so if you are looking to start bringing a retinoid into your routine and you're nervous about having irritation, I totally recommend that you check out that video. And a skin cycling video wouldn't be complete without talking about what you should apply to your skin on your recovery days. This is the time when your skin barrier is allowed to recuperate so that it can tolerate another cycle. Gosh, I may have even talked about this product the very first time I ever put anything out on YouTube, and that is the La Roche-Posay Toleriane Ultra Moisturizing Cream. I feel like this now falls in the category of an oldie but a goodie for me. There are actually moisturizers out there that I like the texture of a little bit more, that maybe have more exciting anti-aging ingredients, but this is such a great core moisturizer for people who have very sensitive skin. And it really is, I think, the only moisturizer I have ever tried where when my skin barrier is in shambles and everything else is stinging my skin, I don't have issues with this. This is also the moisturizer I tend to bring with me on vacation because it's such a compact, lightweight tube, and no matter how my skin is acting, I know it will be able to do okay with this moisturizer. It is my tried and true. Another moisturizer I really like, and actually has quite a different texture from the La Roche-Posay Toleriane Ultra, is the Aven Tolerance Recovery Cream. Wow, can you tell I'm not French? This cream is slightly thicker, has a very rich emollient texture to it, but also feels amazing on the skin. Now, I have had some stinging with it when my skin barrier is completely trashed, but on a night where I just want like a good, rich moisturizer and my skin barrier is feeling okay and I'm just trying to support it, I reach for this all the time. And then one other recovery product I wanted to give a shout out to is the CeraVe Healing Ointment. This is a petrolatum-based ointment, and if your skin is really chapped, it's really angry, putting on something that's this rich and occlusive can feel great and can really help your skin barrier repair. I mean, this is stuff we recommend for kids with eczema who have a deficiency in their skin barrier. If you're not prone to milia, you can actually use the CeraVe Healing Ointment as your nighttime moisturizer. I personally like to layer it on top of my moisturizer, and not necessarily over my entire face, but over what I call hot spots, or areas that tend to get more irritated. So for me, that's on my chin and sometimes the areas around my nose. But you kind of gotta figure out what works for you and how you wanna layer those products so that you get the most out of them. And with that, I will sort of wrap this video up on skin cycling. I am so curious. Have you tried skin cycling? What was your experience like? Tell me in the comments below. Don't forget to give this video a thumbs up and subscribe to the channel, and I will see you next time.